Good evening, everyone. We're the Group 3, and we're going to report Contemporary ASEAN Regional Issue Mainland ASEAN Region. Introduction. This module presents several contemporary issues encountered in the mainland ASEAN which constantly challenges the regionalization on that particular area. It also aims to solicit your curiosity to facilitate real awareness upon the true nature of the problems encountered at the regional level. Rationale. Relate to regional conflict and challenges in the main ASEAN. Intended learning outcomes. Annotating different issues and problems happening on the mainland sub-region of ASEAN. Second, summarize and understand the role of regionalization and the nature of conflicts and challenges forced by the mainland region of ASEAN. Discussion. Mainland ASEAN Demographics and Challenges. The demographics of mainland region can be fully understood by the history of its culture, population, settlements, and languages. The geographical location of the four mainland member nations, namely Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar, and Vietnam, has an important role in the development and evolution of their intrinsic characteristics and traits because mainland region is a peninsula from the Central Asia. Many of its influences came from its neighboring countries and adjacent regions. The history of its race can be traced back on an Austronesian identity characterized by animal domestication and agricultural orientation, Gray 2015. Their origins can also be understood by examining the evolution of their ethno-linguistic aspects. However, it must be considered that languages, according to Scott 2009, does not completely illustrate a specific culture and history because, like any other, it is not a constant variable free of any adaptation or transplantation from outside factors. Nevertheless, in the era of globalization, integration has become a necessity that acts as a need rather than a mere compliance to the fast-evolving international progress. The initiative to fully integrate is indeed a wise action. However, the idea of regional unification posed a great setbacks among members of ASEAN for cultural diversities still tops the number one factor that challenges its vision to fully integrate and considered as one region. Among the prominent challenges along the area are the following. So, the demographics of mainland regions consist of four mainland members, namely Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar, and Vietnam. They can be fully understood by the history of its culture, population, settlements, and languages. The history of its race can be tracked back on Austronesian identity characterized by animal domestication and agricultural orientation, Gray 2015. Their origin can be understood by examining the evaluation of their ethno-linguistic aspect.
The multiple hydroelectric dams across Mekong River. One conflict faced by the region is the industrialization process, which entails a massive impact of environmental destruction. Let's take, for example, the case of hydroelectric dams, which caused a major debate among the countries involving in these mega-structure projects. It is said that these projects, if realized, will have a vast effect in disruption of biodiversity, relocation of dozens of villages, destroy livelihood of people, especially in Myanmar, and finally increase the influx of refugees in the borders of Thailand. Mekong River. This river passes through China and all of the countries in mainland Asian region. It all flows from the Tibetan Plateau and is the longest river in Southeast Asia, the seventh longest in Asia and the most important for the people who live along it. The world's most productive inland fishery. Cambodians and Laotians catch more freshwater fish per capita than anyone else on the planet. The Mekong fish have sustained millions of people through drought. It is one of the world's most diverse and productive rivers in the world, yet many dams are rising all along the Mekong nowadays because many parts of Southeast Asia have less access to electricity and that power is often painfully expensive. The people of Southeast Asia need the clean electricity, but also the fish and rice that the river provides. Though most part of the area is peaceful, the availability of electricity is often scarce and expensive. In addition, further economic and population growth increase the demands for such energy, which makes hydropower installation more tempting to assimilate. Dam construction in the lower Mekong is held together by the shared interest on the river by the Asian mainland countries. However, more recently, Chinese-funded dams are prominently constructed along the river, which present a potentially devastating effect on the people of the region. China has yet to construct 11 giant dams along the mountainous territory of the upper Mekong to sustain its power needs. It has been a concern for many people, hence inbrought negative effects to downstream water supply that feed millions of people. Another problems being noted area.
Irreversible environmental damage and loss of livelihoods among the inhabitants. Next, aquaculture industry will be cumulatively and inexorably devastated. Mekong hydropower is not the sole source of low-carbon energy. The balance of river and sea is already shifting. Next, the upstream dams could convert the river into a reservoir by altering its flow. Next, displacements of many of the indigenous people living near the riverbanks. Sudden floods and quality of water on the river will be prominent. And lastly, dam installation most likely kills the Mekong River itself. Preah Vihear complicates the Thai-Cambodian relationship. The challenges encountered by the mainland ASEAN are usually centered on territorial security. One good example is the dispute on the Preah Vihear temple by Cambodia and Thailand, which resulted in a lot of death due to an exchanges of fires. The dispute, which had been going on for several years, needs ASEAN mediation as it drastically affects the members' harmonious relationship and cause further military tension over the two borders. When Cambodia has finally passed its battle on its territorial claims on the International Court of Justice, or ICJ, Thailand refuses to acknowledge and decline third-party observers on the following site, claiming that the issue should be solved through bilateral means and does not need any third-party observers. Although the ASEAN played an active role in mediating and reducing the tension between the two countries, its effort had not reached a substantial result. Thanks, however, to the change of political leaders in Thailand, the tension was temporarily lowered and addressed. Although the ASEAN's capability of an intra-regional intervention on the matter falls below expectations, still its ability to conduct diplomacy and to provide venue for dialogues are important aspects in achieving peace.
The plight of Rohingyas in the case of statelessness. As migration moved in the past, so was the dynamics of ethnicity's progress. The transmigration coupled with other factors resulted in a multicultural civilization, including the emergence of the stateless regions. The state of being statelessness is a condition of those people that is still not incorporated as a subject in any state, thereby not covered by any inherent rights and privilege of any sovereign nation. The exclusion of these people were perhaps caused by geographical remoteness or defiance from a harsh political system governing their land. Although they are not minority, it is still important to examine their existence because most of the challenges in the region today evolves around these people, such as problems in the land boundaries, variation of identities, historical vagueness, religious and ethnical discriminations. Although there are no objective evidence of such claims, it is still noted that the discrimination emanates from a law or policy in the state to include and to displace these people away from their country. Policies like this needs proper synchronity, for unless these conflicts are resolved, violence elsewhere are unavailable. The refugees in Southeast Asia, or the Rohingya case in Myanmar. By definitions, a refugee is a person who has fear of persecution and is outside of his country of nationality. For Tang Leili, a concrete way to describe it is someone with no definite legal status and those of lesser social values. There are about millions of refugees and internally displaced persons wandering around the region. Such was an alarming case which needs Asians' serious attention in order to uphold the plight of these stateless people in the region. After all, the credibility and confidence of Asian in the international scene will be greatly at risk if it is continued to ignore this crisis. The reason for displacement are conflict of war, ethnic and separate movement, state politics, riots, and disasters. In the case of Rohingya, they differ from Myanmar's dominant Buddhist group ethnically, linguistically, and religiously. The government refused to grant them citizenship, which resulted on their being stateless.
There are many social security problems associated among refugees or stateless people. The long stay in camps and asylum exposes them to several health conditions, improper hygiene and congestions, substance abuse, and even HIV or AIDS. In addition, the confinement on camps denied children's education and women's welfare, as well as the opportunity of skills advancement and productivity. Based on the reports from Fortified Rights International 2008, an estimated 170,000 Rohingya men and women children arrived in Thailand and Malaysia on countless both from 2012 to 2015 and were being exploited by transnational human trafficking indicates in the whole course of time. From the emergencies of this refugees crisis, several interactions and mechanisms were actively serving, and some protocols were immediately implemented to hold and alleviate the situation of these internal displacement people. Beyond all of this effort, challenges always seems to compromise positive developments affecting this crisis. First, there is a broad definition of the term used and may sometimes lead to an ambitious overlapping identification of the respective victims. The cost that would be incurred to the host country is a major area of concern, not to mention the burdens it would add to its national security status. The clarity of the cooperative model to the implemented on the inevitable presence of corruption are aggravate the circumstances of hand. National priority also plays a major hurdle, as all the Asian member states, bilateral and regional cooperation is important in recognizing areas from asylum, establishment of helpful human rights frameworks, protection of migrants, and core labor standards. Most of all, the regional and international players should also be recognized as important bodies in alleviating the situation. Granting the UNCHR unconditional and easy access on camps and asylums are important national state level mechanism to aid in the condition of the refugees. Statelessness had been defined on the country of its origin and not the hosting state. The absence of the diplomatic protection and humanitarian security provided by the government demonstrate an importance of the local, regional, and international players who will support their fight on human security. The plight of the Rohingyas on Myanmar state. Thanks for watching. Group 3 members are Pamela Senya Gumanit, Carlin Gallardo, Rialin Galceran, Razel Nun Edralin, Break Jade Gulandrina.